I'm Amita, come write with me and let's talk about your writing journey, about the writing process, about the writing industry, insider tips, craft tips, and all different kinds of fun to do with writing. Thank you for watching and engaging with my previous blog posts. One of them was about this important question of why do we write? And we talked a lot about daydreaming in that and the importance of that in your creativity. We talked about making friends with your dark side. We've also talked about factors that determine whether you're going to be successful as a writer or not. Today I'm going to talk about the awful thing called writer's block. You might be feeling this before you go on your writer's journey, but actually that's not usually, or that's not always when you feel writer's block. Sometimes it's actually after your first book. Sometimes it can be after a few short stories have been published. It's when it feels like inspiration has run out, or it's never coming back. I've lost it. I used to be able to write, now I can't. I used to be good at it, now the flow is gone. So all of these thoughts are to do with writer's block. It's when you sit down and nothing comes. Now, when people talk to me about writer's block, they often say things like, oh, I don't have the time to write at the moment, or I'm feeling too anxious to write, or what's the point of writing? All of these questions come up. When people say they don't have the time or space to write, I have to look at them more carefully and say, really? You don't have 15 minutes to write? And I can tell you, some people will take that and run with it and say, actually, I do have 15 minutes to write. Some days I actually have more than that and I have half an hour or I have an hour. And so I'm just going to use it. Some people run with it. Other people whose block is, see, a block is like this little, it's like a little gremlin in your head. A block is there to stop you from doing the most fulfilling thing. I have a theory that our brains are actually really, really good at making us do the most destructive thing we can think of. So eating loads of cake will keep you from right now feeling really restless, and so you're going to do that, and then you're going to feel really terrible about eating the cake. That will also keep you from doing the creative thing that you need to do. So your brain has a gremlin in it that is sitting there going, what's the most destructive thing right now that you can do that will really keep you from the most satisfying thing you can do? We all have that, and we all have that little thing going, well, you're not good enough to do that. So that's a very uncomfortable feeling. So I'm just going to eat my way through it, or drink my way through it, or whatever. I'm going to sit there, watching loads of television. Whatever it is, our brains are really good at getting us to do the least productive, least satisfying, most destructive thing that we can think of to make ourselves less uncomfortable. So if we're going to talk about writer's block, your brain is going to fight. So when you say, oh, but if I say to you, you have 15 minutes, don't you? What do you mean you don't have time to write? You will say, I hear people saying this thing, oh, I can't do that. I need 5 hours to write. I need to get into the flow. That's just not possible for me. If I say things like that, or they might even say, actually, I'm too tired even to do 15 minutes, but I don't have headspace. The thing is, okay, some people, their creativity requires a lot of space and a lot of material. So for example, someone who works with installations, maybe they don't have the luxury of just sitting down and doing it because they need lots of material. Someone who's a set designer, similarly, they can't just like do it for 15 minutes because they need material, they need space. So it's possible, of course it is. But for a writer, you need what? You need possibly a computer, possibly a pen and paper, possibly just your phone where you can write yourself notes, which I do. I write myself notes and messages when I can't do more. You do have the means, I think, to sit down and write for 15 minutes. The thing that is stopping you is actually not that you don't have the time, or you don't have the headspace, or you've got a job, or kids, or caring responsibilities. We all have those. Yeah, we all have caring responsibilities and jobs and kids and family obligations and all of that. So we all have that. So that's not the thing that is stopping you. What is stopping you is your brain saying, you can't do this. You'll never be good enough. Who do you think you are? Why do you think you can do it and other people can't? You're not that shiny person that gets all the hype that will become successful as a writer. What's the point of doing this? Your brain is telling you that. Remember the gremlin? The gremlin is telling you, what's the point? You're just not good enough. There's just no point. Where will this even go? How dare you think about this? If you do this, you're just wasting your time. So that gremlin will keep on telling you that. What then happens is when you're sitting in front of and this will increase if you've had any rejections, because you've tried before, you got the gremlin to shut up. Now you've had rejections, or your book hasn't worked that well, or you haven't even managed to get the interest of an editor. Anything is possible. But your gremlin is going to say, remember what happened last time. In a previous post, I've actually talked about selective amnesia and how important that is to success. Tenacity is so important. But what is happening with writer's block is that all these fears are stuck in here, and they're telling you not to write. Now, say that somehow or the other, maybe you journal, maybe you do something to get those fears out of the way, and you say, you know what, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write anyway. I've been told I can do it for 15 minutes a day. There's another gremlin that will come, and that gremlin will say, what you've written isn't good enough. What's the point? Now, I'm going to take you off the hook, and I'm going to say, if all you have is 15 minutes, set yourself a minimum amount of time that you're going to do it every day. You could decide if that's time, so you could say 15 minutes I can manage every single day, half an hour I can manage every single day, or 1 hour, whatever your particular circumstances are, you decide. Or you might decide on word count. So you might say 100 words a day, 500, 1000. Again, depends on your circumstances and what you think is productive. At the end of that minimum time or the minimum word count, you are completely free to get up without guilt and say, I've done it for the day. But the trick I'm going to tell you is take the pressure off of it being good. That's the trick. If you tell yourself what I write for an hour, or what I write for 15 minutes, or what I write for 100 words has to be good, that is a heck of a lot of pressure. Take off the pressure. It doesn't have to be good. You stick to that minimum amount of time, and you do it regularly, every single day if you can, 5 days a week if you prefer, whatever, again, depending on your circumstances. Inspiration will come. Writer's block will disappear, but it will take persistence, and it will take the tolerance of where you feel this isn't good enough. What I'm writing is crap. That's the bit that you have to tolerate. I also think, many people say to me sometimes, I write when it's enjoyable and I'm not finding it enjoyable. Now, fine, you can take yourself off the hook. Maybe you've been working really hard on your writing. You need a break. Fine. But most of the time, why do you think it has to be even enjoyable? To me, the worst time I've spent writing is still better than when I'm not writing. That's the key. This is going back to my previous post on why do you write. If the time spent, even when you're struggling with a bit of writing, is better than not writing, then just sit down and bloody write, right? So that's what I want you to think about. Can you set yourself a minimum goal where you will do a little bit every day, and you will do it even when you don't have a good idea? Give yourself a writing prompt, sit down for your allocated time, do it. Don't worry about whether it's good or not. Stop, finish it for the day, and do it again the next day. If you need to, and if nothing is coming today to you, use those 15 minutes to journal, and it will still open something up in you. That's the trick to beating writer's block. Writer's block cannot be beaten by thinking about it. It can only be beaten by doing it. Try it. So your task for today and for the next few days is to establish a workable, manageable writing practice. You may not be working on the same piece every day either. You might be working on 7 different pieces on 7 different days. That's okay. It doesn't matter what you do. Just do a little bit of writing every single day. Set yourself a time or a word count. Do it for that time. Don't worry if it's good or not. You're welcome to read it back or not. It's up to you. Just sit down and do it. If you've liked what I've done, do like, subscribe, and follow so I can keep on giving you content, and stay tuned for further inspiration.